Speaking of Casey Peterson, or Sandia National Labs, I saw a familiar name in an unfamiliar place, and I'm going to share it with you. Let me start by saying I'm not much of a sports watching kind of guy, but I sometimes would watch hockey.
You don't say.
I know.
I'm kidding.
I sometimes would watch hockey or the World Cup. Like, I'll watch the World Cup when it happens every 4 years. And I used to watch, because I used to play hockey when I was young, and I used to play soccer when I was young, so I guess that makes sense. And, like, I'll sometimes watch hockey. My daughter mocks me if I start watching hockey, because she's like, "You're one of those dads." I'm like, yeah. It lasts like a few weeks, and then I stop watching it regularly. But the NHL has been, as far as major sports leagues, they've been up to now, we'll say, the less woke of the sports leagues, right? They haven't been doing this. But their time has come. Their time has come, unfortunately. And let's just take a look at this press release from the NHL. You got to just stop watching sports. It's going to be the summary. So, for immediate release. All right. They've decided that they are going to now, with the NHLPA and the NHL, do anti-racism efforts. Here we go. Now, notice who they're hiring. All league employees will participate in an inclusion learning experience conducted by Bill Proudman from White Men as Full Diversity Partners. Do you remember where that is?
Oh, yeah. They're the people doing the indoctrination at Sandia.
They are indeed. They are indeed. Anyway, so they're hiring these guys who were in Sandia. Now, by the way, talk about grifters. I just like some white dudes are like, I know how we can make money off of this whole thing. We'll self-flagellate, and we'll teach other white males how to flagellate themselves. All right. So the league will work with its longstanding partners as the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, Center for Justice Research. At the club level, the league will continue to host a series of courageous conversations. Now, of course, they name it a conversation because that's the thing you're not allowed to have. What you're supposed to do is listen. Related to race, equity, diversity, and inclusion, courageous conversations provide a forum where club personnel can delve into subject matter such as privilege, embracing difference, becoming even more of an ally, and unconscious bias. All of our favorite buzzwords, NHL. Thank you. The league will also continue to educate our fans and stakeholders. No one likes to be educated by their sports teams more than NHL fans. I got to tell you, the NHL fans are going to love this.
Wait. Especially moral instruction.
Yes.
I mean, that's what this is they're trying to, this is their version of social justice ideology is a kind of a religion. And for some people, it's where they derive their sense of morality. This is a kind of moral instruction. It would be no different than the NHL saying, we're going to educate our fans about Jesus Christ. I mean, it's much worse than that, I think.
I would rather have them educate their fans about Jesus Christ, Carrie, frankly. And I'm an atheist. So, yeah. So they're going to educate you about the importance of anti-racism work. And, that makes me want to watch more NHL games. I don't know about you guys, but I really want to be educated from my entertainment. Okay, those leading the cultural... but you know what? Can I just comment on this really quickly? Because this is a... You brought this up, and I think it's a good point, Carrie. This idea that since we no longer have religion, I mean, it's not dead completely, but it's certainly not as popular as it once was. Since we no longer have religion and the atheist community has not replaced it with anything compelling at all other than, like, how about some hedonism, or maybe democracy equals morality, which are like the lamest things that you could possibly replace it with. I think a lot of people find meaning from their job. They go to work, and instead of going to get a paycheck, Like in the olden days, you'd go to work, you'd get a paycheck, you didn't have to have any moral activity, like you didn't have to push any morals at work, right? Because you were home, you'd go home, you'd go to church, you'd have your community functions, and you would do your moral outlet, and your sense of meaning came elsewhere. But now no one has any of that. So they're at work like, how do I show that I'm morally good? Well, I better do it at the NHL. and yeah. And so, and then they claim it's not political because, well, it's not political. It's just an entire moral framework that dictates your politics, but it's not political. We're not telling you who to vote for. We're just saying anti-racism is the most important thing ever, and you should vote.
And by anti-racism, we mean racism.
Right,
That's
yes.
what they call, for anyone who's
Yeah.
new to this channel, they rename everything. They're very Orwellian. And they call, you will see one of the people we call the high priests and priestesses of the movement. Somebody in a comment to our video the other day was asking, who are some of the high priests and priestesses? Well, right now, some of the ones who are the most culturally powerful are Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi. They both have SJW books, cult indoctrination books, at the top of the bestseller list. Ibram X. Kendi is one who's done videos on why you need to be anti-racist, not racist. and then he has a whole video explaining the difference between what's the difference between anti-racist and not racist. And what the difference is that anti-racist is the word they use for racism. It means literally treating people differently on the basis of race. They teach you that we all need to judge people and treat them differently on the basis of race. That when I look at you, I'm supposed to catalog all these different categories you're in, these identity group categories, and I'm supposed to treat you based on what categories you're in. That's racist. And I don't care if you put a fancy name on it. Apparently, it's putting a name on it and calling it the opposite of what it is enough to fool a lot of people. But many of us look at your behavior and say, hey, wait a minute, you're just calling treating people differently on the basis of race anti-racism. That's still racist. It doesn't matter what you call it. But that's what they're pushing. This is, I think this is, well, you know what I think about this, Carter. I think it's disgusting. And this needs to be rooted out. Again, going back to that interview with Casey Peterson, I love his confidence. I love how intelligent he is and how he lays out a moral case for opposing this ideology. And that's what we need. We need people making the moral arguments as well as the intellectual arguments. We need people saying, I'm pushing against this because it's racist and it's wrong. And you have to cut it out of your organizations. It needs to be cut out of the NHL. They all say the same things. You mentioned the buzzwords in there. They all say the same things. They all use the same buzzwords because this is a cult and they all speak the same cult language. So you once you've seen it somewhere at Sandia Labs, you can recognize it somewhere else at like the NHL. It doesn't even have to be the same training group. It could be a different SJW training group. It's going to be the same language.